What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. The road to AEW Grand Slam continues as Dynamite holds the semi-finals for the AEW World Championship. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at this week's edition of Dynamite, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including AEW lifts suspension on wrestlers, Velveteen Dream's shocking claim, a huge bout coming to Crown Jewel, new details on WWE titles makeover, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our own wrestling channel, Incredible. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As number 1, MJF's brain is more dangerous than Moxley's disease. MJF cut another powerful promo last night, and while that wasn't a surprise, what made it stand out was MJF's cutting remarks against former and future rival Jon Moxley. MJF, who unsuccessfully challenged Mox for the AEW World Championship during Jon's first reign, pointed out that he's a different man than the one Moxley faced before, going so far as to mock Moxley's battle with alcohol. Although some fans might feel this was unnecessary, well, that's the whole point. MJF is a heel who makes personal attacks, and as longtime fans know, wrestlers on the receiving end of barbs like this often encourage heels to target their past, as it creates nuclear-level heat. MJF didn't pull any punches, calling Moxley a drunk and telling him that MJF's brain is far more dangerous than Moxley's disease. It was a promo that made fans hate MJF all the more and built up heat for their inevitable confrontation. Number 2, The Firm. Will MJF's latest faction flop or soar? Last night was the official introduction of The Firm, Stokely Hathaway's heel faction that apparently is on retainer for MJF. Fans immediately had to wonder whether this group will fizzle out as MJF's former group The Pinnacle did, or whether this will give them the impetus and outside interference he needs to capture his first world championship. On paper, the group has plenty of promise as Stokely Hathaway knows how to get heat, and there are some wrestlers with potential like the Guns and Lee Moriarty, not to mention the impressive W. Morrissey. Ethan Page may be able to finally break out in the group too. The Firm's success depends on whether AEW books them as an independent entity that occasionally helps MJF, or they cannon fodder for run-ins and subsequent tag matches with MJF's opponents. If AEW can use MJF to give the group the occasional rub while also building each member up as legitimate competitors, the Firm could thrive. Number 3, good semi-finals matches. The Sammy Guevara vs Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho vs Bryan Danielson were the ideal semi-final matches for the AEW World Title Tournament, as they featured top names in outstanding wrestling. While the Guevara win would have been a pleasant surprise, the Spanish God certainly didn't lose anything by counting the lights for Moxley, as Sammy isn't quite at that level yet. Although Mox did add insult to injury when he was not selling those chops. As for Jericho and Danielson, the Wizard defeated Danielson 2 weeks ago, so last night's loss wasn't the end of the world. Most of all, AEW finally set things up for Moxley and Danielson to compete for the AEW World Championship against each other, a match that fans have been eager to see for months. Number 4, Tag Team Title Match. Is good. Swerve and Our Glory's AEW Tag Team title defense against the Lucha Brothers was a 1-2 punch that provided fans with an excellent tag match, albeit a short one, and gave Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland another win as they head into their title defense against the Acclaimed at Grand Slam. Number 5, an interesting twist with Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker. While everyone knows that Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker are on their way to a feud, last night's segment where Hayter stopped Baker from using a chair only to take it and use it on Toni Storm added a twist to the tale of Hayter and Baker's rivalry. Jamie Hayter is a talent that is slowly building a buzz as fans come to appreciate her abilities, and she could be another breakout star in AEW's women's division. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, pointless women's tag match. We've enjoyed the influx of new female talent such as Athena, Toni Storm and Ruby Soho, but what's going on with the terrible booking? By this we're talking about AEW putting its women into meaningless tag matches, unless the meaning is to fill in 10 minutes of TV time. Number 2, Hook and Action Bronson. Who cares? Does anyone really care about Hook's new association with rapper and celebrity chef Action Bronson? And we sometimes struggle with the understanding how Hook is getting such a strong push while main eventers like Wardlow are backstage in catering. Factor in the oddball pairings like Hook and Danhausen and now Hook and Bronson, and you wonder who thinks that this is the way to get Hook over. Now there was nothing downright ugly as Dynamite was a solid show as well as a good warm-up for next week's special Grand Slam. AEW seems to be capitalizing on the recent bad press surrounding its all-out media scrum debacle, turning a negative into a positive by not only refocusing on what brought fans to All Elite Wrestling in the first place, but turning Wednesdays into event television with strong matches and compelling angles. What you guys think of Dynamite this week? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at AEW lifting suspension on wrestlers. Atop of today's news is a report concerning some of the wrestlers suspended after AEW's all-out post-show skirmish. As you may know by now, AEW suspended several wrestlers including CM Punk, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. What you may not know is that the company also suspended other wrestlers as well. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Live, Bryan Alvarez revealed everybody involved, including those breaking up the fight, ended up being suspended by AEW. Essentially, they were sent home and no one heard anything. No contact between AEW and anybody that was sent home. They were all just sitting there, no idea what's going on, just sitting. As previously mentioned, AEW hired an independent investigator to probe what exactly happened, and the company appears to be handling things carefully. Apparently, some of the investigation has provided some answers, as Alvarez reports several suspensions have been lifted. As of today, I don't know everybody who's off suspension, but I believe that everybody who was involved in breaking up the fight is now off suspension. I know that Pat Buck is off suspension, Brandon Cutler is off suspension, and I think some other people were called today and they're off suspension. So right now, to the best of my knowledge, and there may be phone calls being made right now for all I know, I believe that if you were involved in breaking it up, you're off suspension. But if you were actually involved in the fight, you are still on suspension. Obviously, fans want to know when wrestlers allegedly involved in the fracas will be back, but that remains one of the most intriguing questions for AEW fans, as they wonder what it means for several of the company's top stars, not to mention several of its founders. Next up, Velveteen Dream's shocking claim. More details are emerging on the troubled NXT career of Velveteen Dream, a superstar whose speaking out allegations led to fans calling the WWE to fire him. While Dream wasn't released for those allegations, it appears he was suspended for something else, at least according to a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp. While Velveteen Dream just outright admitted he and a bunch of NXT wrestlers were doing cocaine while on the roster, word always was he was quietly suspended for a while there. The story remains unconfirmed, but if accurate, raises questions about the backstage environment at NXT when Dream was there, as well as questions about whether it's changed. But Dream took to Instagram and posted this video.
I'm not going to tell people who was at this party out of respect for our mutual friends. But one of our mutual friends is a former NXT talent that no longer works for the WWE. And the other person is a current Monday Night Raw talent who used to wrestle talent for NXT. Okay? Mike, EC3, you go out here after I give you the best match you've ever had in your entire career. You go out here and you dirt... I'm tired of people throwing dirt on my name. You throw this dirt on my name saying that I tried to record you in your bathroom. Let's be honest, Mike. You're leaving out a lot of details. What were we doing that night, Mike? What type of powder was on the table, Mike? Okay, let's be real. So let's not leave out all the details. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, EC3. Get your shit together.
Next up, Triple H bringing back another NXT tradition. Now, the 13th September edition of NXT featured a big surprise as NXT 2.0 reverted to its black and gold style, albeit with an updated logo. However, that's not the only blast from the past fans should look forward to on the black and gold brand, as Wrestling Observer Live's Bryan Alvarez recently mentioned that NXT's planned Halloween Havoc show is being listed internally as NXT TakeOver. It's obvious that Triple H is doing everything he can to restore NXT to what he sees as the right look and style. Next up, a big bout coming to Crown Jewel. Although Crown Jewel won't be taking place until November, rumour has it that WWE already has a major match planned for the show. Zero News is reporting that WWE is working on a rematch between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. This isn't a shocker as Lashley has lobbied hard for a match against Lesnar and fans enjoyed their colossal clash at this year's Royal Rumble. And now that Lesnar is finished with his program against Roman Reigns, it sounds like the WWE could capitalise on the obvious interest in a Bobby vs Brock Part 2. And finally, new details on WWE's new title belts. And last but not least, more rumours on the WWE belt makeovers were discussed not too far back, but the WWE occasionally changes up its belts and some pundits believe it's just the latest move from Triple H to give the WWE a new look as he makes various changes to the promotion. But first, who is Dan Beltzer and why should he give a blue hell about his tweets any more than you might someone else? Well, Wrestling News' Paul Davis gave some background on Beltzer, saying Dan is a prominent belt maker for wrestling companies and collector, and he's broken belt-related news stories in the past. Beltzer tweeted, "New WWE tag belts are described to me as being the existing design, dual-plated black strap and have a stacked large WWE logo in the center. They also have an OLE never used tags, which are the women's tag style on colored straps. women's belts getting coloured backing soon. WWE has some remarkable belt makeovers in the past, some of which can be seen at the WWE's website. What are your favourite title belts? What do you think of these new title belts? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.